Imagine scrolling through endless posts on Reddit late at night, your room bathed in the eerie glow of your phone. You find yourself on nosleep, reading stories so chilling that they stay with you long after you turn off the screen. Tonight, we're diving into 5 of the scariest stories from nosleep that take place in India, each one more haunting than the last. Turn off the lights, get comfortable, and prepare yourself for tales that just might make you question what's lurking in the dark. The first story is about a man in the banyan tree. It started when 24-year-old Aman took a solo hiking trip into the Western Ghats, India's ancient mountain range known for its beauty and its mysteries. As he set up camp one night, he noticed a massive banyan tree nearby. Legends often spoke of spirits who lurked in banyan trees, but Aman, skeptical as ever, laughed it off. Around midnight, he woke up to the faint rustling of leaves. The noise was too rhythmic to be the wind. Peering out of his tent, he saw a figure sitting high in the branches, its body twisted at unnatural angles, eyes reflecting a dull red glow. It looked straight at him and smiled. Too terrified to move, Aman just watched as the figure slowly descended, its limbs contorting as it neared the ground. In the morning there was no trace of anyone, but he could still feel eyes on him, watching him until he finally left the forest. They say spirits of the banyan tree never forget, and that night, Aman felt as though he'd been marked. The next is about the cursed doll of Pune. Ananya, a 12-year-old girl from Pune, found an old handmade doll in her grandmother's attic. It had glassy eyes that seemed too lifelike, and a dress that looked disturbingly pristine. The doll had belonged to a girl from a neighboring village who had mysteriously disappeared years ago. Ananya was enchanted by it and took it everywhere she went. Soon, strange things started happening. She'd hear faint whispering at night and would find the doll in different places around the house, though she was sure she'd left it on her bed. One night, Ananya woke up to find the doll sitting on her chest, staring down at her with its glassy eyes. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. In the days that followed, she fell ill, plagued by nightmares of being buried alive. Her grandmother, recognizing the signs, took the doll back to the attic and performed a ritual to contain its spirit. Ananya recovered, but the family still hears whispers from the attic, and no one dares open it again. The third story is about the haunting of the abandoned hospital. In the outskirts of Kolkata, an old hospital lay in ruins. Rumor had it that patients who died under mysterious circumstances still haunted the place, and young thrill-seekers often visited to test their courage. Rahul and his friends were one such group, but what they encountered was beyond any prank or ghost story. They ventured inside, laughing and joking until they reached a room with a rusty operating table. Rahul suddenly felt a chill, as if the temperature had dropped. Then they heard it, a faint, dragging sound coming from the dark corridor. One of his friends shined a flashlight down the hall, revealing a shadowy figure limping toward them, leaving a trail of blood. Frozen in fear, they watched as the figure raised a hand, pointing directly at Rahul. Panicking, they ran, and once they were outside, one friend noticed blood smeared on Rahul's shirt, but he wasn't injured. Terrified, they left, and Rahul couldn't shake the feeling of eyes following him for weeks. Locals say the hospital claims its own visitors, one way or another. The fourth story is about the shadow on the rooftop. Priya lived in a high-rise apartment in Mumbai. Every night around 2 a.m., she'd hear footsteps coming from the rooftop above her apartment, followed by a strange humming sound. Thinking it was a neighbor, she didn't pay much attention. But when the sounds grew louder, she decided to investigate. One night, Priya went up to the rooftop and saw a shadow standing at the edge, staring down at the city. She called out, but the figure didn't respond. Suddenly, it turned, and she saw its eyes, hollow and endless. The figure raised a hand, pointing at her with a grin that seemed far too wide for its face. Terrified, she ran back inside, and the noises only got louder each night. She eventually moved, but the apartment's new tenants say they now hear footsteps on the rooftop at exactly 2 a.m., followed by faint, eerie humming. Here comes the fifth story, which is about a temple at the edge of the village. In a small rural village in Rajasthan, there was an abandoned temple at the edge of town. Locals believed it was cursed, and that a spirit of vengeance resided within, waiting for anyone who dared enter. Ravi, a newcomer to the village, dismissed these warnings as superstition. He entered the temple one evening to explore. Inside, he felt an overwhelming sense of dread. The air was thick, and he began hearing faint chanting, though he was alone. As he reached the inner sanctum, he saw an ancient idol with eyes painted in blood red. Suddenly, the room grew colder, and he felt a hand on his shoulder. Turning around, he saw no one, but the chanting grew louder, echoing in his mind. Ravi fled, but he began suffering from vivid nightmares and falling ill. Locals told him he'd angered the spirit, and that the only way to appease it was to perform a cleansing ritual at the temple. He tried, but it was too late. The spirit had already chosen him. To this day, he is haunted by the sound of that chanting every night. And there you have it. 5 spine-tingling horror stories from our nosleep, each one based in the hauntingly beautiful yet mysterious landscapes of India. These stories remind us that some places hold secrets that shouldn't be disturbed, and that sometimes superstition isn't just a tale, but a warning. If these stories kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your own horror encounters in the comments. Remember, you might just have a visitor in the shadows, listening as you sleep.